Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to be bringing you 5 Hobby Lobby fall dupes. So for dupe number 1, we will be making this little fall sign, and I'm using my plaster from Waverly. And I have these 4 wood blocks that I've had for several years, and I'm just painting them with 2 coats of the plaster. No, 1 coat, 1 or 2 coats, I'm not sure. And now I'm going to be using this nutmeg brown to paint the stems of these pumpkins, and I'm using one of those snake pieces from the Dollar Tree. These were just pieces that I had left over from another project. And I'm taking the brown and I have a fan brush and I'm just putting little lines on each of these. And that's what it looks like right there. And then with my Cricut, I have some cardstock and I cut out the letters for fall. And I'm just taking one of the foam brushes from the Dollar Tree and using some black acrylic paint, and I'm just dabbing onto each wood piece, 1 letter each. Now, using the cardstock and holding it down, it didn't make perfect letters, but it did okay, and I just went back in with a paint pen and a white paint pen and went around the letters to clean it up a bit, to make it more crisp. And you'll see that here in a minute. So I'm doing the letters at different heights, so they're not all right across even. And I'm just holding the stencil down with my fingers. I really didn't have any painter's tape or anything. Guess I need to go get me some. So here I am with the marker, and this is actually an ink marker from Magnolia Design Co. And I will put the link to those in the description box. You get 4 of the ink markers and you get 4 of the chalk paste markers. And again, I'm just cleaning up these letters a little bit. It did bleed because I wasn't holding them down exactly right. I'm going to show you the package. So I have 2 of the markers sitting out to use later. So I have these leaves from last year from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking the yellow marker, and this actually is the chalk paste marker, and I'm just outlining the lines on the leaf. And then I'm going to take the white one and I'm just going underneath some of the lines that I just put on. Not all of them, just the ones that are on the outer points of the leaf. And there it is. So now we have our little snake part stems. And I did cut these in well, actually they were already cut, except for one of them. So I have 2 with like 4 segments, 1 with 3 segments, and 1 with 2 segments on it. And if you've ever looked at the snakes in the Dollar Tree, you know what I'm talking about. So I just hot glued those onto the tops of my pumpkins. And then I'm going to put a leaf on each one. Actually, I think, do I do that? I think I actually did, yes, right here. I put the raffia bow on first. And these bows, now They're in different sizes. I made them myself. So some are fuller than others, some are skimpy. I just didn't want them all to look the same. And then I'm putting a leaf on, putting it kind of up under the bow a little bit. Trying to make sure that it's not going to cover my letter. And there's our first pumpkin. Of course, we're not totally done with them, but there it is with the leaf and the raffia bow. So putting the bows on first and then kind of butting the bottom of the leaf up against the bow. And putting it kind of off to the side. And there's our A. This is what I'm talking about. This one's a little skimpy bow. I'm kind of putting a different color leaf on each one. One is more reddish, one's more yellowish, and then the green one. So they're not all the same. So this is a pretty simple project. And at the end of it, I'll show you what mine looks like compared to the Hobby Lobby one that I was going by, and the price difference. And now I'm going to put some wood glue on the side of the A and a little bit of hot glue also, and I'm going to glue it to the F. And then I'm going to take the L and glue it to the A and the other L to the L that we're just going to put on here. So we glue them all together side by side. And again, I'm using a little bit of hot glue and a little bit of wood glue. More wood glue than hot glue. And actually, I guess that is all the embellishment we're doing to these, because I wanted it to just use like the items that the Hobby Lobby piece had. So there it is, all put together. And it really didn't cost me anything. I already had everything as leftover pieces. And there it is, $20.99 from Hobby Lobby, and mine was basically free. Of course, you got your paint and all that, but it's just my time. And here we are at our second dupe. So this one is a faux book stack. And I'm going to take these used books. Now, I've already read these books. My mother gave them to me. She's read them. So they've gone through several hands before they ever got to me. So I'm just taking hot glue and I'm putting it down on the cover of the first book, layering another book on top of it. So we have 3 books here. And then we're going to put hot glue on the cover of the second book. And put our third book on top of that. Now when you lay these down, you need to get them right, because this one wasn't exactly right, but guess what? I couldn't take it back off. The hot glue stuck really good. And now I just have a piece of 8 by 14 copy paper, printer paper, whatever you want to call it. So that paper was free to me. The books were free to me. I made the Mod Podge out of glue and water. So you use a cup of glue and a 1/4 cup of water. And so I'm just putting my homemade Mod Podge on the bottom of the bottom book. And then I'm going to line up the two edges of the paper with two edges of the book. And I'm going to smooth that down. Now I have one of these rollers that was given to me, so I'm just going over it, trying to get out any bubbles that's on it. And then I just creased the paper over the edge of the books. And then I'm going to take my homemade Mod Podge and I'm putting it on the spine of the books. Once I get that done, I'm just going to wrap my paper on around the spines, taking my fingers and laying that paper down, just getting it just right on there. And you can see the definition between the books. And now I'm taking my Mod Podge and I'm putting it on the front cover of the top book. And I'm just going to smooth that down with my hand, making sure my ends are where they need to be. It wasn't exactly where I wanted it, so I do pull it up and reposition it. Or I guess I don't do that. Oh, no, here it is. Getting ahead of myself, but there it is. I didn't think that the edges were perfectly where they needed to be, so I pulled my paper up a little bit and repositioned it. Then I smoothed it down again with my roller. And now I'm just going to trim off the excess. Now, depending on your book size, I mean, I probably could have used an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper, but we have a lot of this 8 by 14 inch paper and we don't use it a lot, so I thought, hey, this is an opportunity to use it. So I'm taking just one of those fingernail files from the Dollar Tree. You get them 2 in a pack, and I'm just going over the edges of my paper. Now I've already done most of the edges, but I'm just showing you how it works there. And it doesn't hurt the books at all. It just takes that extra little bit of paper off. And now I have this shiny copper looking vinyl from the Dollar Tree, and it was actually one of the smaller ones for like the Cricut Joy. And I cut out a couple of maple leaves from my Cricut, and I'm just laying those on the top part of the book. Now the leaves, I have to say, were easy to do with my Cricut and with that paper. I mean, with that vinyl. The words that we're putting on the sides of the book, the spines of the book, oh my gosh, I was ready to pull my hair out. But I'm just taking some of this Dollar Tree jute twine. Going to add some beads to it. So an orange bead, a plain bead, you know, a raw wood bead, and then another orange bead. So these are just beads that I had on hand. And I'm wrapping the twine about 4 times around the book. And then I'm just making a simple bow. And since the end that my beads were on were too long, I moved them up and then I tied a knot. And I actually did 3 knots on top of each other because the holes in the beads were pretty big and I didn't want my beads to fall off. And then I did add a little bit of glue to the end also. So that's the top of the book. So now we're going to put the words on the spines of the book. And I'm not showing you this here, but I had a heck of a time with this. So the first words I'm putting on is I love. Now to transfer it on, it did good. But to get it onto the transfer paper, oh my gosh. So I love, and the word I'm doing right now is fall. Because we're just using the same thing that was on the Hobby Lobby book stack. And now we have our best of all. So I love fall, best of all. Or most of all. I think it's most of all. And there it is. I love fall, most of all. So here's our piece. And then here's the Hobby Lobby piece on sale, $7.19, and ours was basically $1.50 for the, $1.25 for the vinyl. And now for dupe 3. So this is a white pumpkin. And I have these slatted pumpkins that I bought a case of last year from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just painting it with the plaster Waverly chalk paint, and I'm putting some hot glue in the holes at the top. So I'm just going to paint the whole thing with the plaster. And there we go. Now I have 2 of the tumbling tower blocks, and I am taking the antique wax from Waverly and doing the stem, and we'll also do 3 sides of those blocks I showed you. The other side of the block we're going to paint with the plaster. And then I have one of these little planks from the Dollar Tree. These come 6 in a pack, and I painted it, I stained it with the antique wax. And here I am staining the tumbling tower blocks, which we're only using 2 of those. And then the one side in the plaster. That's the side that's going to be up against the pumpkin. And now we have our black acrylic paint. Or it could be pavement, but it's still a blackish. And so we're just going to go over where those slats kind of meet each other. And then we're going to go around the edge of the pumpkin and the stem. So I'm trying not to use a ton of the paint for this. And you guys will have to let me know how you think I did on these dupes. This is my first dupe video. And I'm still working on where to place my camera so that you guys can get the best view. It seems like no matter what I do, I always have my projects out of your line of vision. So I am working on that. So I'm just taking my sanding block and I'm going over the whole piece. There I am shaking the table and the camera and everything. Now I'm going to touch it up a little bit. So I'm just trying to get it to where I think it should look. Now we're going to move on to these faux leather oak leaves from the Dollar Tree. And I just have the Waverly wax to put on it. I'm just going around the edges of the leaves with my fan brush. I find that the fan brush comes in handy for a lot of painting techniques. I say that and then I think I change brushes. That's too funny. But it does come in handy. I guess just not for this particular item. Do you guys have a favorite brush to use, a type of brush? So once I get the wax on there, I just wipe it off a bit. Because I don't want it, you know, way out there bright. I'm going to kind of dull it down a little bit. And there we have it. And now I have this covered wire from Hobby Lobby. But we're not going to use that right now. I'm going to put my leaves on, my faux leather leaves. So I'm just going to hot glue it up around the stem. And that's where I'll have the stems for the leaves too. Now I have my raffia, and I just cut a piece off. Well, a piece, several pieces. I didn't tie a bow or anything like that. And then I glued it onto the base of the stem. I'm just trying to make it look like the Hobby Lobby pumpkin. They just kind of had them kind of on there. It wasn't a bow or anything like that. And I have seen this particular pumpkin in the store. So I'm just taking that wired covered, I don't know what you would call it, but anyway, like I said, I got it at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to take it around the stem, and then I'm going to go over top of the raffia and then bring it back up to the stem. Actually taking it underneath the raffia. And then I'm going to tie a knot in it. So it is like some paper covered wire. So I'm just kind of crisscrossing it on the stem. And then tying a knot. Once I get that, then I take a paintbrush and I wrap it around the paintbrush to make a curlicue or a spiral. I'm just going to glue down this raffia a little bit towards the top. And put the leaf on top of it. Do the same thing to the other side. Going to take a little bit of the hot glue to tack the leaves down. And now we're going to work on the stand. So I did put, I know I don't show the footage of this, but I did glue the tumbling tower blocks to the back of the pumpkin, making sure that the side painted white was what was glued to the back of the pumpkin. And then I'm gluing the blocks to the plank to make a stand. And I decided that it needed a little bit more. The Hobby Lobby one doesn't have a flower on it, but I had this wood rose from the Dollar Tree, so I added it, and then I added a little raffia bow on top of that. So mine is a little different than the Hobby Lobby one. So here's mine. And here they are together. So Hobby Lobby's is $23.99 on sale. Mine was probably less than $5. And now on to dupe number 4. So this is my favorite one. It's just a wall plaque that says fall, proof that change is beautiful. So I love that saying, and I love this sign. So I'm just taking one of those boards from the Dollar Tree. This one was $3, and it's 12 inches by 12 inches. Now the Hobby Lobby sign is actually 24 by 24. So mine is about half the size of theirs. And I just painted the bottom of the sign. And now I'm taking my black acrylic paint with a sponge dauber, and I am daubing the letters for the word fall, and they are in wood. And it actually came from one of those little packages that has, I think, like 6 sayings in it, and it talks about hello fall, welcome fall, hello autumn, and all that. So I just cut the fall letters off of it, but you can actually buy the wood letters from any hobby store, even the Dollar Tree. Now I'm just going to take my sanding block over my board where I painted it with the plaster. And now I'm taking this little tool because I didn't have any of the painter's tape, and I did get a little bit of paint along the edges of the board. So I took this tool and I scraped it off, and now I'm just taking a napkin and I'm wiping down the inside of the board just to make sure that it's free of debris. Now I printed this up on my Cricut, and I tried to do it as close to the Hobby Lobby piece as I could. I mean, I couldn't find the exact font, but I think this is a pretty good fit for it. So this is vinyl from Hobby Lobby. And it's black. So I have my vinyl down, and now I'm going to put my word fall on there. And this is just, I mean, it's a real simple look, and I don't know, I just love it. I might have to make some more of these with different sayings. Maybe I could find one for spring, one for summer, and one for winter. Or if I can't find one, I'll make it up myself. But yeah, I'm going to hang this on my wall, probably in my entryway. So I'm just using hot glue to glue the letters down, but I could have used my wood glue. So there you have it. And I'm just going to take a piece of jute to make a hanger on the back. And I want to make sure that it's centered. So I'm just marking that, and then I'm going to use my hot glue to glue it down. Because this board isn't very heavy at all. It's very light. Like I said, it was one of those $3 ones at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to have to get some more of these because they're really good for crafting. I've used it more than once, so I mean it's a decent piece of wood for crafting. It really is. So I just put that little jute on there to hang it up, and there it is. Fall is proof that change is beautiful. I love that. So here's my piece, and now here it is compared to the Hobby Lobby piece, which they want $35.99 on sale. So mine was under $5. And now for our fifth and final dupe. So I have one of these boards from the Dollar Tree. I had bought them last year in a case online, and it was the ones that had the pumpkin on the top. So I took my husband's miter saw and I cut the top of it off, and I lost the footage to this, or my camera was acting up, but I took these tumbling tower blocks and I made a frame to go around it. So 3 blocks on the end pieces, and I want to say, I don't know, maybe 9 blocks. Anyway, it just framed it, and I didn't have to cut down any of the blocks for this. And maybe I can count the blocks for you as soon as I put this on. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 7 blocks on the longer sides. And now I am mixing the Ocean Waverly chalk paint with the Lagoon Waverly chalk paint. And this just makes a really pretty blue. So that's them before I mix it up. And there I go, mixing, mixing, mixing. I think the color just turns out really good. So I did glue the frame onto the board. And now I'm going to paint my pumpkins. So I'm going to paint one of them blue, one of them with this orange, which is the orange and the King's Gold mixed together. And I think that's jack-o'-lantern. Excuse me. Because I didn't want such a bright orange. I thought the King's Gold would dull it down a little bit, but it just didn't do the job, so I had to add some of my antiquing wax to it, and that did it. I saw another crafter add blue to orange to tone it down. I didn't realize that it would do it, but apparently it does. So this is more of a, I guess, Texas orange. The burnt orange. So I do 2 of the pumpkins in the orange, and then I'm going to do 1 in the moss. And I've used it quite a bit in my fall decor crafting. So now I'm taking the antique wax and I am going to take most of it off of my brush, and then I'm gonna do the stem, and then I'm gonna add some dimension to my pumpkins by putting some lines on it, kind of curving them a little bit. There we go. I think they turned out cute. So this is another piece that I'll be putting on my wall. I still have my beach decor up right now, but I'm thinking about taking it down and start putting up my fall decor. Is it too early? I don't know, but I mean, it's still hot here. Don't get me wrong about that. But I've had my beach decor up for quite a while, and I'm just ready for a change. So I'm thinking that I might start putting up my fall decor. Now this one here, I do take my napkin and wipe it a little bit. And now on to the last one. I'm not a painter, let me tell you. I mean, like, I can paint walls, stuff like that, but not as an artist or anything. But my sister, she can paint. I have some of her paintings. She's good. Too bad she doesn't live around here. She's in Georgia. I'm in Texas. Now I've turned my pumpkins over and I have these tumbling tower blocks, and I'm going to add one to each pumpkin. And this is just going to make it stand off of the board so that it's not laying flat. And again, I have this paper covered wire. It's like a brown looking paper. And I'm just making my coils, wrapping it around my my paintbrush, leaving a little space in between the wrap so that I can put it around the stem. So there we have it, just like that. They're so cute on these pumpkins. Just adds a little something there. And I'm just taking a little bit of my wood glue, and I'm gluing the paper covered wire onto the stem of the pumpkin. Now I would have used my hot glue, but it wasn't on. I'm going to go ahead and put the hangers on the back of this board, and I'm just using 2 small pieces of the jute on either side. Just going to add a little bit of hot glue on the ends. or on the board to put the ends of the jute in. And I'm just laying the jute straight out. And that's it for the hanger. Now we're going to put our pumpkins on. So I'm just going to lay them on the board to see how they fit and where I then want to place my leaves. So I just have some more of these leaves that I got last year from the Dollar Tree. And I have one maple leaf and one oak leaf for each of my pumpkins. And I'm just gluing them down to the top there, and some of it is hanging over the frame. So once I get my leaves, 2 leaves down, then I'll put my pumpkin on. And I'll do that for each one of them. And this is what it looks like. Isn't that cute? I love it. So I'm just going to speed this up so you guys don't have to watch me doing this in real time. But just adding 2 leaves to each one and put the pumpkin on. Look at that, I had 1 leaf left over. So here it is. So this is my version. I think it turned out really cute. And here it is for $14.99 at Hobby Lobby. And theirs was just painted on, I guess. And again, I am Liz with Liz's Crafts, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so and tell your friends and your family about my crafting videos.